What's up, y'all? One Piece One Life here, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Jinbe is nowhere near the list of my favorite characters of One Piece. I mean, to me, he was always more interesting just for who he was to the story and to the world of One Piece and who he was connected to, rather than his own character and own fighting style and stuff like that. I mean, we see him connected to Arlong, and we actually find out that he's Arlong's benefactor, as in he was the one who released Arlong from prison. Then we learned that he was doing that through his position of a warlord, and so we learned about him more in terms of his alliance with the world government. It eventually becomes a major ally to Luffy during the Paramount War Saga. We learned that he has connections to Ace and Whitebeard, and he fought against Ace for 10 days. And then even in the New World Saga, we learn more about him and his connections to Big Mom and why Fishman Island is protected, and it's because he's serving under Big Mom's crew, which leads to the reunion with him in Whole Cake Island. So all of that is really amazing. I just find that his fighting style, to me personally, is just so bland. I just find that like the fighting style itself is so slow, right? Because he just punches and then waits for a bit and then a knockback effect. Like, show us something more than just punches, and even the punches themselves don't have visual distinctive something to like make them memorable, you know? So between the fact that I don't like his fighting style and character and the fact that he hasn't been a crewmate for long, that means that I haven't had a lot of time to warm up to Jinbe. Oh, and before I forget, his fight with Who's Who was pretty cool, even though it was more of an exposition dump. But what if we fix that? If Jinbe had joined the crew earlier, like he said he would, then people might have had more time to, get used to him being around. He may have had more time to show us things, which may eventually change his look in other people's, well, at least my eyes. On the flip side, the story itself could change dramatically if Jinbe joins earlier. So that's what we're going to explore today. This is what if Jinbe joined at Fishman Island. But before we get into it, guys, please like the video, subscribe to the page for more One Piece content just like this, and share it around with all your friends who love One Piece. Let's get it going. So in the original story, we know that Jinbe said that he couldn't join up with Luffy and them when Luffy had asked him at the end of Fishman Island as they were leaving. He said that he couldn't join them because he ended up having a connection to Big Mom and loyalty to Big Mom, which is why the reason that Fishman Island was protected. Of course, at that time, we didn't know that it was Jinbe himself who had a direct, relationship with her. But for this hypothetical, let's say that none of them mattered, or it just wasn't a thing to begin with. Jinbe is free to do what he wants, and so he becomes Luffy's first New World crew member. Now, Jinbe being there with them as they leave Fishman Island is already going to change things radically. First of all, since he's the one who knew about and told the rest of the Straw Hats about the whole battle between Aokiji and Akainu on Punk Hazard, if they got close to Punk Hazard, Jinbe would probably recognize it, which means that they could avoid Punk Hazard entirely. This would be insane, because that means that literally the entirety of the Four Emperors saga would not happen, because Punk Hazard is where everything for those next few arcs is set up. I mean, this is where we meet Momo and Keen and set up the samurai stuff in Wano, as well as partner up with Law with the aim or the goal of defeating Kaido. And even Dressrosa might not have happened, because all of that happens as a direct part of the alliance and taking out Doflamingo's and Caesar's Sad Factory. So yeah, literally none of the past 15 years, maybe 15 stretching it, 10 years may have happened. Okay, but let's say Luffy overrules them, because Luffy, he's just that kind of guy. He wants to explore it, and so they end up exploring Punk Hazard. Well, I think Jinbe would have been on the exploration team along with Luffy, Zoro, Robin, and Usopp. And when they were trying to cross that really huge lake and they had to use Usopp's Bodhi banana, which kind of came out of nowhere, I think that story-wise and plot-wise, it would have just been easier for Jinbe to just, carry him all across. Also, later on, when some of the crew is looking for Keen's torso, which happens to be deep down in the lake, instead of Sanji having to hold his breath and go down and everything like that, which was still a cool Sanji feat, Jinbe could have easily done that. And that kind of just speaks to what Jinbe's role mostly would have been for the majority of the story up to this point, which we already kind of see in Egghead, which is just anything having to do with water, leave it to Jinbe. Literally, after Bonnie was popped out of the typhoon thingy or whatever, and then Luffy and Chopper went flying too, he's the one who literally saved all of them. Anyways, so the rest of Punk Hazard plays out the same, because honestly, it's not that difficult of a battle like with Caesar. And then we move on to Dressrosa. Now in Dressrosa, I think he would have been part of the Sunny protection team. So, I think he would have been there along with Nami, Brook, Chopper, and Momo as they were trying to protect the Sunny, and then they would have had to fight against Giola and her art powers. Needless to say, that battle would have probably finished in one shot. And then y'all remember when Doflamingo briefly appeared over the Sunny to try and get to them or whatever, and then Sanji had to come and meet him in the air? I think that Sanji wouldn't have even needed to do that. Sanji could still be on his way, but I think that Jinbe honestly could have been the one to hold Dofi off. Plus, there really could have been some interesting conversation and just past between the two of them, especially because they were both warlords. So there may have been some past things with the government, some things that they don't see eye to eye on that could have been explored with Jinbe being in Dressrosa. So then the crew obviously separates, right? With half of them going with Sanji to Zo. So obviously Jinbe would be part of that team, part of the twirly hats or whatever they call themselves. So then when Zo comes around and it's revealed that Sanji was taken by Beiji and Peckham's, Jinbe could have actually maybe provided, a bit of knowledge about Totland and Big Mom's crew and things like that. Just because Jinbe is usually a very knowledgeable person. He's the kind of, it's between him and Robin usually on the crew, but they're the ones who kind of know more about the world. And even within that, I think that would honestly be more Jinbe's territory than Robin's, because Robin's territory is more the ancient world, what happened in the past, things relating to archaeology, whereas Jinbe is much more politically inclined in terms of knowing stuff that may be going on between pirates, alliances, and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think that he goes with the half of the Straw Hats that went to Wano. I think that given everything that happened, especially if he was part of the Twirly Hat crew, just like the rest of them were, he's gonna end up going with Luffy's group to go and rescue Sanji. And I think part of that is also just so that he can serve the same roles that he did being on Whole Cake Island originally. But in order for things not to get too out of hand, and a story reason as well, I think that there's actually something very intelligent that Jinbe would suggest. I think that he'd suggest that he stays behind on the Sunny itself while the others are exploring, Chocolate Town, and then eventually when they're going off to actually explore Whole Cake Island itself. Because, Jinbe, I don't like him personally, but character-wise, he's actually, he's very intelligent, smart. He thinks things through. He thinks ahead, especially. And he's also just, a natural leader, right? So he would be thinking, okay, what's the best way that I can support the crew, which is be the vanguard unit or the backup in case something bad happens, which, Nami and Luffy did get captured, so that's now where Jinbe could come in. So then from there, everything else goes pretty much the same, figuring out that the assassination plot on Big Mom, that Pudding's the bad guy, the whole tea party from hell and escaping, everything like that basically happens the same, except this time, Jinbe directly leaves with the crew and just, heads straight to Wano with the rest of them. Since the Sun Pirates aren't there for Jinbe to feel a sense of, okay, I need to stay with these guys, there's no obligation for him to stay, so he just goes. But now that I say it, actually, the Sun Pirates were only there in Big Mom's territory because Jinbe was there. So with Jinbe part of the Straw Hat crew, there would have been no reason for the Sun Pirates to be in Big Mom's territory. And the Sun Pirates was a major reason, in fact, 95% of the reason why the Straw Hats were able to escape was because of the Sun Pirates. So if the Sun Pirates aren't there, Luffy's crew doesn't escape. At least that half of the crew gets captured by Big Mom. Yeah, especially with Praline singing and distracting the snails and all that, things may have actually ended up worse for the crew if Jinbe ended up joining early. Though you could have some sort of workaround of oh, but obviously since Aladdin and Praline are married, and Praline is one of Big Mom's daughters, maybe they were just in the area, because then obviously you get to Wano. From then on, basically everything kind of goes the same. I don't see Jinbe doing anything that drastic in Acts 1 and 2 that would warrant a change in the story before when he appears in Act 3, Then yeah, he goes on to Be Who's Who, and then they leave, and after that, everything's the same. But overall, it seems like the story actually may have been worse if Jinbe joined. Yeah, because the thought of Luffy's group getting recaptured by Big Mom and the Zoro's group in Wano doesn't even know what's going on. The rest of the alliance doesn't even know what's going on. That's crazy. Yeah, this is why Oda got the storytelling down. That's why he's the writer of the story, not me. He got that planning. What do I know? I'm only the author of the sequel, which you can read using the link. But what do you guys think would have happened if Jinbe joined at Fishman Island? How much of the world or just story events do you think could happen differently? Make sure to let me know in the comments. Also put in there what major, fights he could have gotten, or definitely some power-ups that he could have gotten, because Lord knows, if I see another 5,000 tile brick fist, I don't know what'll happen. So that's the end of the video, y'all. Now please, guys, I need y'all to do 3 things for me. Y'all already know. Like the video, subscribe to the page for more One Piece content just like this, and share it around with your friends who love the series. I'm trying to make this a community, but I need your help to do it. Well, that's gonna be all for me, guys. I'll catch y'all in the next one, and always remember, One Piece, one life. I actually forgot Jinbe was back there. I probably should have, motioned to him during the video.